This is how to change the wheel bearings on a skateboard. As an idiot who hasn't ridden skateboard in many years, after I got this muddy at the last Texas Mile event, I washed it off and I rusted the bearings because they are not sealed, which I didn't realize. So I got some new bearings to install on what is a 121C carbon fiber skateboard as the example, and it's got the shark wheels on it. So you can use the same process for changing wheels as well. You can see how bad the wheels roll, basically not at all, and that's what we need to fix. First I'll open the bearings. You've got 8 bearings because each wheel takes a bearing on the inside and on the outside. It's just a nylock nut on the top, it looks like. And you always want to make sure you check out all the pieces. So we've got one nut, we've got a tiny washer, pull the wheel off, and there's another washer right there. Now we got to get the old bearings out of the wheel. I'm going to use a screwdriver to get down to the bottom bearing, push it out. There we go. There's probably more elegant ways to do this, but there we go. All right, both bearings are out. If we look at these guys, they've got these built-in spacers. Put them in from each way. Now that I've pushed the bearings in from each side, what I'm going to do is take a socket that is the same diameter of the outer race of that bearing. And this is something from working on cars and bikes over the years. You don't want to punch into the center bearing race as opposed to the outer, because if you put tension between the two, you can actually damage the ball bearings. So since I want to push the outer race as far down until it hits the shoulder of the wheel, I'm going to take this, and I'm not going to kill it. I'm just going to tap it to make sure it's seated. And then same with the other side. Make sure it's seated as well. Make sure that the right side of the wheel is facing inward again. Since these are a little corroded, put a little bit of oil and clean those up. Just kind of clean these up a little bit. Put one washer back on. Actually going to clean that axle up a little bit too. Bring that back to life. Put the wheel on, second washer. Put the nut on, and again, because they have those built-in spacers, they do say right here, built-in spacers, which means you don't have to question if you're going to over-torque it because they basically manage themselves. If you want to torque it as appropriately you would for any bolt that size. That's the way it should work. Okay, now we'll do the other 3. For these others, I'm going to do more of an assembly process idea where I take them all loose and do everything at the same time. So I take the nut off, I take one washer out, the wheel, and the second washer. I'm more of a car and motorcycle guy, so I'm actually kind of wondering if you're supposed to rotate the wheels on these things or not. I don't think it's that precision required for the kind of board I do, so I'm just going to put the same ones back in the same spot basically. Now I'll knock the bearings out of all of them. This is not something you would ever do with motorcycle or any automotive bearings, but skateboards are a little bit forgiving for what I do. And just snug it. Make sure you got good spin. These do look like a nylock nut. In theory, a nylock nut should always be replaced, not reused. However, you know, this isn't an old Harley, it's a skateboard, so I'm not as worried about vibration stuff, criticality that way. I'm going to reuse these. If I were doing this as a job for somebody else, I would probably go get new lock nuts though.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel below and let's celebrate turning fuel and air into adrenaline.